Hey there, I'm Andrew Malacy. Welcome to my shop. Today we're going to be building a shooting board with a miter box on the underside of it. I've done a video about my own shooting board and we're actually going to make that type of board today. The features are that we have a shooting side with a little track here. This fence here is removable, so it reveals a smaller fence for planing smaller, thinner stock. If we flip the board over, we have this harder surface that can be removed by taking off these screws. And we have a miter fence or a miter box set up here with the straight 90 and two opposing 45-degree angles. Lastly, I did make this out of regular pine, not out of 3/4 inch plywood like a lot of people recommend. In fact, if you have plywood, good quality plywood, that's what I would recommend you do as well. Here's the material we're going to be using today. I've already gone ahead and done all the prep work last night. Let it sit a little bit to acclimate, and then today I'm going to check to see if I need to do any fine adjustment, if it's moved at all. I have a small strip of wood. It can be any wood you want. I've got pine here just because it's going to match the whole pine board. Then I've got two strips of southern yellow pine that I've more or less squared up, as you can see, and they match the dimension of this strip because we're going to layer them up. The last thing you're going to need is a piece of hardboard or some hard material. I would not recommend 1/4 inch plywood. We want it to be good and durable so it's not going to wear out very quickly over time because we're going to be doing a lot of repetitive motions on it. So again, I recommend this hardboard here or something similar. I know that people are going to mention, well, won't the board cup? Won't the board whatever? And if you look at the growth range, yeah, we're definitely susceptible to that. Even on the most optimistic of terms, this board is not going to stay flat. That's the way wood is. And this board here is probably in the neighborhood of 20 years old. I don't know how long ago they put it in shelves, but it wasn't new. That's where we're going to borrow from the plywood technique. We're going to take our vertical grain stock, because it's extremely stable, we're going to use that. But also, we're not going to put the lines of the grain parallel to the lines of the rings. See how we have lines this way and lines going curling this way, or we have lines curving this way. They're more or less parallel. What we're going to do is make them run perpendicular. So we're going to see the lines from the top. While it can throw the fence a little out of square, you just remove it and you true it up. But what we do know is that it won't be bending this way. It'll stop or help prevent the cupping of the board. And since we're going to have one on each ends, top and bottom, that has done a wonderful job on my own board after months and months now, and it's still very flat and shoots a nice end. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get some measurements. So right off the bat, let's just mark something arbitrary here because we're going to have to clean it up, but get it close. So we'll make sure we have that little bit extra there. And then we'll cut just on that side of the line. We've got two of the same length that we're going to cut on this one. So I'm just going to, which means I'm basically just going to copy the length here, get everything all good to go. Take the stock, put it over the other one, get it close, mark it. At this point we have all the main components in place. Got our fence for that, our miter goes under here, we're about ready to go. Then our 45 will look like this if you're a lefty. I'm going to make this for a righty because I'm going to give it away through Wood by Wright's channel, his hand tool giveaway. So we're going to put these one on top of the other, and I'm going to, see that little knot, I'm going to hide him. So I'm going to put him upside down. And what we're going to do is butt them up together. Then we're going to clamp them together and drill some holes straight through the whole way. So now let me take a marking gauge. So I'm going to put this at about 1.5 inches away, but not much farther than that because we don't want deflection in the fence as we're shooting. So here we go, I'm going to mark along at 1.5 inches in. All right, Let me get another marking gauge here and try and size up the middle, more or less where it's going to be. I've got 2 screws here that'll be a perfect length when they go through the 2 pieces here and into the wood. We don't want them to go in too deep into the shooting board itself, because we're going to really crank these down. So if there's any risk of that they could pop through the other side, you might want to find a shorter screw. Sink the one in on this side and it'll hold everything together, and you won't need the clamp really on the other side. Let's go ahead and remove that. Okay, so we have our 2-part fence ready to go, and that's all the leftover we have. That's just enough to make some small holes. And that's all we need really, because the purpose of these screws is not to go all the way into the board and be the main point of security. We're going to drill more holes into the smaller strip and then into the wood itself, into the shooting board wood itself. Those will be the main structure, and then these screws will serve to grab into the wood that's the main structure. You might be able to see now that we have an overhang on each side, which is great. We're just going to center it more or less on the board and then mark our lines, and we're going to have to chop that, leaving it the tiniest little bit proud. We're going to have to chop that off because we're going to get our final fit here pretty close. That'll leave the thin one along with the thicker fence perfectly in line with each other. There we go, I got it marked on 2 faces. Now let's go ahead and cut this. Another good cut. Real quick, what I'm going to do is just take the edge off these, clean them up a little bit. Okay. We have a fence that fits real great. Now comes the moment of truth. I've got my straight edge in hand. I'm going to butt it up against my reference edge. I'm doing this for a right-handed person, so I'm going to do it on this side. And I'm satisfied with that. That's really good. We got over the 20 inches. It looks like no real gap that I can speak of. So this side is going to be our reference side where we do all the shooting from, and it looks to be nice and straight. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if this is 90 degrees or if this is 90 degrees or if this is parallel. It's just aesthetics at this point. We just need one straight edge. Now this is the side I'm going to be using. This is our reference side. I'm going to bring my fence up to here. Leave just the tiniest little bit of edge there. All right. That feels about right. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to mark a line there. We got our reference line up top. And we're going to draw a straight line all the way across. So butt it up to there. Bring your pencil in. Drop it in. You need a good sharp pencil for this. Now we're going to take our fence that we just made and we're going to determine what is going to be our front. And what you want to base that off of is the bottom. Base it off the bottom because that's what's going to register the most. So I'm going to flip it over. Do I see any gap? I see no gap whatsoever. I'm going to test the other side just for curiosity's sake. And to be honest with you, I see a little bit of a gap in the middle there. Tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. So I know that this is going to be my reference side. Bring it back around one more time. I love it. I really like the look of that. You see that? Nothing. So I'm going to put an R. Reference. And I'm also going to write on the bottom here, but I'm going to do it in permanent marker. This is critical. We cannot forget exactly where things go. So we're going to go for front. All right, that's our reference. We're going to go R for right. L for left, obviously. And that's facing, I'm going to draw an arrow, facing me. So when I put it down, we've got the R, and then we got the front and right and left and all that. And we'll never forget the orientation. In fact, for even a little bit more help, we're going to put an F here on the board, a right here, an R, and then an L. We cannot forget exactly what we've done now, okay? I flipped the board towards you. This is our right side, which is the reference edge. I'm gonna bring the square up all the way to here. Remember, right to right, this is why we're marking everything, right to right. That is that. Back this out now. I'm going to take these screws all the way out. And we've got the R for the reference, and I'm going to take the time to write, again, front, right, left, and draw an arrow on that. We do not want to get confused. Now we're just going to reinstall the fence. All right, front to front. There we go. I'm only going to start them. Let's bring up my reference here. Bring it on down. What do you think? What do you think? Anything? That's doable. I like it. Now we're just going to basically do a much simplified process of this for the miter side. So now that we have that, we can just butt it up against there. Remembering which side is our reference side. So this is our reference, right? You know what? Let's put an R on reference. Repeat the same exact process. We're going to put the grain vertical, so it's very straight. I'm going to put it almost to the edge there, and I'm just going to mark a line. Okay? See that? Let's bring it over. Same process. We're going to find the side that's the straightest. That looks great. So this is going to be our reference side. I'm going to put an R. Then I'm going to take a permanent marker, front, right, left, and that's it. I'm going to do the same thing here, front, right, left. Okay? This one, it does not matter really all, as long as you don't overhang the side where your plane's going to be shooting, which is our reference side. So all that has to happen is that this is exactly flush, or even a little under the edge here on the reference side. And it doesn't even have to be that square to the board. It really doesn't even have to be square to the board. It just has to be a straight piece. But if it's square to the board, it means you aren't planing at an angle or anywhere off. So you're just planing straight ahead. Before we do anything, let's mark our screw holes. We're going to do the same exact process. Mark it 1.5 inches in. There we go. Let's measure this. Mark that. And we're going to go off our reference face, which is the front here. That's where we're going to cut our line. I'm going to flip it around. Sneaking up on it. And that is our miter box. We're going to make our first cuts freehand or using another miter box if you'd like. And then we're going to finish the cuts on the actual box itself. We're going to use this little yellow miter box here because I find that with the guiding lines here, it really helps to keep us straight. The problem is I'm referencing against the back, so let me switch it around. We got to reference against the right side. Woof, good thing I caught that. We're not going to go all the way. We're going to go a lot of the way so we have a good guide. As you can see, I started to drift before I had my line, so it's a good thing I corrected. I'm going to call that good enough. We got some good lines. Man, okay, I'll deal with that. Look at that. Well, you're not going to believe it. We've basically finished our shooting board at this point. So just put it on the line, clamp it down, hand tighten real quick, and there you go. There's the miter fence on with the shooting on the other side. Making the 45-degree fence is actually really easy. Start by cutting a 45-degree angle on one of the ends of the fence, then drill some holes through the fence itself so you can secure it with some screws. Then you're going to determine where your fence is going to go by using a square, bring the fence up to it, drill some pilot holes, and then sink your screws into the board. The last step really before we're finishing is to make the bottom miter protector area. What that's going to entail is you're just going to measure from the inside of the miter fence, which gives us 19 3/8, to here, 10 1/8. We're going to go 10 1/8, and then we're going to add on 3 inches. We're going to make it 13 1/8. Heck, why not make it 13 1/4, okay? Now I've got this big old sheet of material here, of hardboard, I guess it is. And I'm going to measure out my 19 3/8 by 10 3/4, or 13 3/4. Now I'm just going to cut this with a handsaw. Now we're just going to clean up the edge with a plane, believe it or not. Okay, so I cut and cleaned up the piece, and we're going to see how it fits. Wow, looks good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill some tiny little holes for some screws. Just a small bit, it doesn't matter. Well, there's that. if they were flush, it'd look like this. Your plane's gonna ride in that groove. Right there. Don't forget we have a tall fence. And we have a miter fence. That is a nice shooting board. Well, that about does it. All we have left to do at this point is to finish it. And what I'm going to do is put on a coat of white bond poly on the whole surface. Then when all that dries and sets up really well, I'm going to paste wax everything as well. I'm going to give the channel where the plane rides an extra dose of paste wax. Well, there it is. We finished the shooting board / miter combo, and I was just testing it out and it's working great. Here's the finished product and I'm loving it. Check this out on the back. We've got this really great smooth surface for the miters. These screws are inset, they're below the surface, sunk in. We've got the miter box up top. Then we just flip this thing over, and then look, we got a track for our plane to shoot on. Remember here we got this removable fence. All we got to do is take off those 2 screws. This is awesome. Then we just add on our miter shooting fence, which sits just like that, and we're golden. Let's take a quick look and see how it is in action. So I got a small piece of wood here. I'm going to cut it first, and then we're going to go from there. Hey, I'll take that. What do you think? Now we're going to shoot it. You ready? Moment of truth. Oh man. Looks pretty good to me. That's that. I hope you enjoyed the video, that it's been useful. And to the person who's going to win this, congratulations. I had a great time making it. I'm really excited you're going to be able to use this shooting board. It was a labor of love. You've got a lot of versatility with it. You can remove stuff, switch out the parts. You can saw on it. You can shoot on it. You can do miters. Heck, it's a great start for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. In fact, if anybody has any questions, leave a comment, like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next video.